Welcome back, 1570 AM Baltimore Positive WNST. My next guest is Nestor Aparicio, who just provided me with a wonderful golden melon that I devoured a couple days ago. So, Nestor, I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, and this is my favorite time of the year because of the golden melons.
Well, I figured it wasn't the biggest melon, but
It
I
was good
stopped.
though.
There's a man on the Eastern Shore. Now, you know I love Wise Markets. I'm going to be up in Pennsylvania
Yep.
today. I don't always see yellow watermelon at Wise. I always see it at a farmer's market. You only see it in August, right? So maybe late July, maybe another couple, 2, 3 weeks, and it's gone, right? So you really get about 6 weeks of the year you can have gold watermelon. And there's a man literally between Easton and like maybe Y River after 404, but before you get to Easton.
Okay.
And he's an old farmer. And last year he had a sign that said yellow watermelon, and that's what drove me
Man.
in. And I've now brought you several from last year. We had the truck. I've been by his stand a couple of times that I know where he is when I go to Ocean City. And this time of year, because of the crab cake tour, I've been back and forth to Ocean City twice this week, 3 times last year. So I did stop a couple of times, and I just recommend it. I mean, it's one of those things I didn't have until I was 45 years old. And I'm like, how can I not have something so great? And it's like peach cake. I don't think I had peach cake till I was 40, right?
Oh,
So
you know
all of
what?
these things that you get to taste. And one of the reasons I'm doing all these crab cakes is they're all different. Every single one of them is different.
It's funny because I'm having peach cake this evening, peach cake with vanilla bean ice cream. So that's
I'm
going to be
seeing more people get the recipe. My wife tried it and kind of screwed it up. She's like, maybe we should buy it, kind of like Asian food. Like you could try to make it, but you're better
yeah,
off just buying it. It just tastes
yeah.
better. They know what they're doing. Indian food. My wife made delicious Indian food. It took her 2 days. She's like, it's $14 on the buffet. Let's just go to the buffet. It's delicious.
Yeah.
But there are certain things with the crab cakes and recipes and getting out and being a part of this summer that have been it's been fun. I talked to a lot of chefs. I had Dante Liberatore on, who I went to high school with, Dundalk 85er, known him all my life. Never had him on the show. He's out in Eldersburg. His family has, obviously, everybody's been in a Liberatore's at this point, or a Libs
Sure.
Grill. And we got to sit and talk about family and coming from Argentina. And his family came here in 1974. They left the old country in 1950 to go to Argentina. Sounds like a similar story with a Venezuelan guy with an
And,
Italian mother and a Greek guy,
and a
right?
Greek guy who got it
Exactly.
here in '73. So there you go. Some
Oh,
similarities
all
there.
right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Well, here we are, doing okay, waiting for the Ravens to start, right?
Doing okay, and the Ravens. Glad you brought them up. They've got some concerns, some issues. Ronnie Stanley still not on the field. Gus Edwards on the PUP list for 4 weeks, and they've got some uncertainty heading into the season for sure.
Like the preseason is always such bunk, other than the injuries. I mean, talk about Isaiah Likely, and that's great. And maybe he'll be a good player, and maybe he'll be an incredible compliment and a weapon, and maybe he'll be in Phoenix, in a confetti shower in 24 weeks or whatever, right? But the preseason's about talking about Isaiah Likely, but it's also where the PR team with the Ravens don't want you talking about Ronnie Stanley, don't want you talking about the deficiencies, and certainly don't want you talking about Lamar's contract right now,
Wow.
which to me is still first and foremost that if that kid goes out and plays on September 11th without a deal, I just I don't want to be mean, but it's not a smart move. It's not in his best interest to do that. And he said he's going to turn off negotiations when the season begins.
He did.
And from all indications, and
I
if you're
think he means
watching
it.
Jay Glazer last week, they're not interested in signing him because they think he's got enough passion to show up and play September 11th, right?
Well, at this point, he better. But this is I read where the last 18 franchise quarterbacks didn't hit the open market. The only one that did was Kirk Cousins, but 17 out of 18 got re-signed by their team. So
Oh,
this
by
is
the way, but when you say Kirk Cousins, he got more money than any of them.
he really did. What he get franchised twice by the
You said
by
18 quarterbacks. He might be 18th in the 18 you looked at.
he is
Right, right.
he's
And
the
he
18th.
got the most guaranteed money.
He
So
did.
Andrew Brandt writes about this all the time. Darrell Revis, he should have been the Jets island. No, Darrell Revis made another $80 million he wouldn't have made.
Correct.
So
That is
he's a
correct.
winner. He's a winner in football. Sam Bradford. You write about these guys that have made the most money. Lamar doesn't want to be a guy settling for less. But I tell you what, if he goes out and plays September 11th, it's not that I'm shocked by that because I think he has passion for the game. I think he believes so much in himself. And there's been so much doubt from the outside on that kid. And he's gone out and performed at every level. Kind of reminds you of a Greek immigrant kid and a Venezuelan kid, always betting against us. And here we are all these years later with Lamar. he's going to go out and perform. He's going to be a fine football player this year. But if he were to get injured catastrophically, to your point, and I talked to some people this week, Lloyd's of London, Leonard Raskin said to me, you better have Lloyd's of London because
I've said it
Leonard
all along.
advises people on money. He would tell Lamar Jackson, you're not going out there with your $100 million body and playing for $1.3 million this week. You're not.
Yeah, I have said that all along, that if I'm in his inner circle, he has a big Lloyd's of London insurance policy on him for $300, $400, $500 million, whatever the number, whatever we think his earning potentials in the NFL is, that's what we get the policy. But let's go in the other direction, Nestor. Ravens catch lightning in the bottle, they win the Super Bowl. What's his market value at that point? It's Joe Flacco all over again.
Well, I don't even know what that means because, I think they're already ready to put him near top of market. We're not talking about a lot of money here, right? In real terms, that if he gets $50 million a year, $52 million, if that's where it steps up because we've had a parade, that's the price of doing this. If he stays healthy this year without Ronnie Stanley, without Gus Edwards, with whatever these wide receivers are, whatever the offensive line is, Leitler's a year older. They are now and not an elderly offensive line, but they're not a young offensive line. And if Lindenbaum's not going to start the season, they are beginning the season sort of where they were last year with a lot of question marks, just a lot of question marks, and all of it on this kid, right? This kid has to be a magician for them to win 12 games this year, 13 games. He has to go out every single week and be spectacular. Because they don't have any other weapons. Seriously, right? What are their weapons? Their weapons are his legs and his ability to distribute the football.
No
that is the
about
entire franchise right now. That's where they put the franchise.
He is, but what's changed the equation, and we talked about it ad nauseum, is the Browns contract with Deshaun Watson, right? That's what's changed the equation. That guaranteed money, and Bisciotti expresses his pleasure at the owners' meeting against Jimmy Haslam, and now you got 31 owners. They're trying, and maybe Steve was the poster child for that. It's all about ego. He's trying to hold the line. Kyler Murray, he caved in, right? He took less. He didn't get the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson got. So although Glazer said they've offered Lamar more money than Kyler Murray, I'm sure he still wants that guaranteed money to exceed what Watson got. And it seems to me both sides have dug their heels in, Nestor.
Digging your heels in and playing football, if your heels are dug in, you're not playing September 11th.
Well, if we were his agent, he wouldn't break a blade of grass on the field without a new contract. But we're not his agents, are we?
It's a fascinating thing that this kid's representing himself in this way. And, I'll be talking more at length about the organization and the tone of the organization in the coming weeks. I'll have plenty to say about that. Believe me, I will.
And this is to their benefit, Nestor. This is to their benefit. He shows up September 11th. This is to their benefit. They got a guy on a $23 million deal.
Yeah. It's not slave labor, but it's not market value for a kid that
below market value. Yeah, they were 8-3 with him last year. Like you said, he's a magician. What were they without him?
Well, the Ravens would be delighted to play as it is, right? So if he's going to go out and play September 11th and they're convinced he's going to play and play well and play hungry and play pissed off and like all those things that they always say, we like our players pissed off. What if you like your franchise player pissed off? Probably not good. It wasn't good when Ray was pissed off around here, right?
No,
when Ray was uppity and antsy back in 2009, I have video of Ray sitting to me talking about playing other places. Go to YouTube. Go watch it. It almost happened, and it was chippy, and he didn't really like Billick. At the time, right? So Billick was on his way out. John was coming in. Like all of that was happening, and Steve's in the middle of having Ogden left, a coach he doesn't like and he didn't hire. Clearly, he never liked Brian, right? He liked Brian about as much as he likes me. And in 2009, 7, 8, 9, they had all this with Ray, but Ray was going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Lamar's only going to the Hall of Fame in his mind because they gave him a statue in Louisville. The accolades for Lamar a couple of years in, there is a point where you may say he might have attaboy syndrome. He might. I don't know. Let's see how he plays.
He's
got a lot of attaboy going on around him.
I've only
never
25
seen
years old.
Fanboy, and Luke talks about this out in Owings Mills, the Beatles factor of him. And I keep saying he better be the Beatles and not the Monkees. Because right now he's the Monkees. Got a hit series. He's okay. He's good. It's good. But where's it going to be 5 years or 10 years from now? And here's the deal with the money for Bisciotti, right? You're going to give this kid a couple $100 million, right? You know that. Whether you're not cutting him in year 4 of the contract when you're paying him $48 million. You're not going to cut his pay. You're not going to do any of that. So whatever you're into, whether it's 150, 175, 200, 232, whatever that number is, what you're really doing is, let's do the math on this. This is 20. We're in 22 here, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 27 and 28. What you're saying is, I'm paying right now for him to be my quarterback in 27 and 28. He's going to be 28, 29 years old, right?
Still young.
Is he going to be a franchise quarterback at that point, even if he's not a $50 million quarterback? Am I going to have to bench him, draft somebody else? Are we going to be 4 and 13? That's weird. With him, right? Or is he injured?
You've been 37 and 12 with him.
These assertions that in 27 and 28, Steve's not willing to have the franchise be 4 and 14 the year he wants to sell it. They'll be 4 and 14 by then because they'll be playing 18 games by then, right? That if Steve's afraid of 4 and 14 and 27 or 28, I know who's not afraid of it, Harbaugh, because he's going to say, you're going to give this kid $250 million. I'm not even going to be here when he's gone. I'm going to be in Michigan on a boat with my brother somewhere, right? Watching the Detroit Tigers with my wife or whatever. So this is about Steve saying, where is my franchise in 27 and 28? And is that my $50 million quarterback when the next quarterback who's a sophomore at Alabama right now will be getting $64 million then, right? By then.
They're 37-12 with him, Nestor. Hard to fathom going 4 and 14 with him under center. They're just a different team with him at quarterback. He is a franchise quarterback.
But in 2027, I'm saying.
Well, he's only 25 years old. I mean, he's still young. He's still a kid.
Well, then you're making the case to open the checkbook, don't hold the line, give him the guaranteed money, make him a happy guy, make him your happy guy for the next 5 years. No?
Well, I would have liked to have this thing resolved way before now. I mean, I think it's gotten to a point where, you know what, and also
Eric's going to regret going in there and offer him $75 million guaranteed 6 months ago.
Yeah, when you represent yourself, you don't have a buffer. You don't have the agent. You don't have the go-between, and it gets personal. It has to get personal. That's why you need an agent. It's worth that 2-3% to pay the guy to let him represent your best interest, because a lot of times it's like, what is it? A lawyer that represents himself has a pull for a client. That's what they say. You never represent yourself. You just don't, and that's what he's doing. And it's not in his best interest, unless he has to me, if he steps on the field September 11th without a Lloyd's of London policy, he is a fool. He really is.
Well, Dennis, I would just say this: the amount of conversation around this, once we get through this crap on Saturday night, right? This sludge of fake football, the next 2 weeks leading into the season for all the quarterbacks everywhere, right? Whether it's Baker Mayfield getting his job in Dallas, is this kid the right guy? Joe Burrow, can you take us back? Can you win the game the next time? Do we have the right players? The Rams have stuff to prove now that they've won. Everywhere the quarterback is the straw that's going to stir the drink throughout the league. And these next couple of weeks, I think there's going to be incredible pressure on him to not play or say, you can't go out there and play without being a made guy at this point. And especially the way he plays. It's just, he's going to get hit. He's going to run into linebackers. That's going to happen. And I think he should be holding his breath. That's all. I mean, he should. And the Ravens are complicit in this for undervaluing him, insulting him months ago, right? Whatever the WTF part of this is, whatever was in Lamar's heart to sit home for 2 weeks while his teammates were practicing, that he thought maybe somehow that would get him more money or get him leverage inside. I don't know where his advice is coming from. I know he's a hell of a football player, and I know John's trying to sort of channel that and get it all together. But this team's got a lot of question marks on the offense for sure to go out there and prove things. And doing it against the Jets would be one thing. Even doing it against the lesser teams earlier in the year would be one thing. But this is the marathon that they have this year. They're going to need a happy Lamar, a signed Lamar, right? I mean, not this dangling every week for 17 weeks. That would not be good.
It's the biggest story in the NFL, Nestor. You're right. Everybody's got questions. Every team has questions, but this is the biggest story in the NFL until it gets resolved. The WTF moment, I mean, that was, I don't know why he did that. He knew Hollywood Brown was traded. He knew it. There's no way he didn't know that. So for him to come out public and say that with knowledge that he was prior knowledge, I could never wrap my mind around that. Also, the NFLPA, Nestor, they can't be happy that this player, this generational player, 2019 league MVP, is playing on a $23 million contract this year. There's no way.
Well, and they're probably not happy that he's unrepresented, right?
Yes.
I mean, to some degree, like, hey, kid, you're top of class. Let's get you the best. You got the best conditioning coaches. You got the best quarterback coaches. You got the best. Why wouldn't you want the best advisement and the best representation for yourself? You're not your best representative. You're your best quarterback.
And I can't. Do you think it's an effort to save money to save that 2 or 3% they pay an agent? I can't.
You know what I think? I don't know Lamar well, and I only know him through press conferences, and I've elbow bumped him. I haven't been in a room with Lamar in 2.5 years, and Chad Steele's trying to see to make sure that I'm never in a room with Lamar unless I'm getting an autograph. And I would just say that if I sat and talked to him at length, I'd have a better vibe on this, but I don't. And he's not sitting and talking to anybody about anything. And I would say at heart, based on his treatment, his upbringing, his mother, where he went to school and how all of that went and how he went through the process of being drafted. And the Ravens were the only ones that found him attractive. Let's, you know what I mean? Attractive enough, not as a running back or a wide receiver or a slash or, hey, we'll bring in here and gadget you or we'll make you 3rd-round draft pick. The Ravens went all in on him. And nobody else was willing to do that. I would say one of the reasons nobody else was willing to do that was his mother was his agent. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, dude, you're not in middle school. I mean, you're a great athlete. You're a nice kid. You've got good character, but like, you're not a professional. And there was part of that went into this. And I think it's a trust issue. You know what I mean? I don't think his mother trusted anybody. I don't think he trusts anybody. And now he's the best athlete in the best sport and like all of that. And he's not good. Why would he start trusting people now? Why would he let Drew Rosenhaus into into his kitchen now when he didn't back in the day when they were telling him, kid, you should go be a safety. You should go be a cornerback with those wheels. You know what I mean? Look, you'll make $100 million if you're a cornerback, Lamar.
Back when he played quarterback for Bobby Petrino in Louisville, his mother Bobby Petrino got a phone call, and she told him the next time my son returns a punt, it will be the last time he plays for Louisville. She didn't want to be a punt returner. Lamar Jackson refused to run with the wide receivers at the combine. He's a quarterback. He's always been different. And there's been receivers. Julian Edelman comes to mind for the Patriots. He was a college quarterback. There's been others that were college quarterbacks that are playing a different position in the NFL.
Ward.
I'm sorry, Hines Ward, the kid down in for the Saints. I mean, there's many players, but Lamar has always been different. He's always fancied himself as a quarterback. He's always bet on himself, and he's a different cat. And when he says he's not going to negotiate after September 11th, I believe him. I don't think he's bluffing.
Oh, I don't think he's going to negotiate, but I don't think he should play.
Oh, you and I both. You and I both. I mean, it's crazy, but fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a rough ride, I believe.
Well, the first question to Lamar is, do you have insurance on yourself? That's the next press conference that they don't let me into. That'd be the question.
Yeah, if he doesn't, I mean, that's it's mind blowing that he wouldn't have insurance. And for me, look, I've bought a lot of homes. I've sold a lot of homes. I've done some of my own. At times, I've used agents. And if you have a really good agent, it's good to have somebody else looking out for your best interests in that regard. It really is. Sometimes you got
about that.
What's that?
There's no question about that.
Yeah, you got to spend the money. It just you have to.
Well, in the case for the NFL, the representation and the level of money that's here, it's beyond what you and I do deals and we do nice deals and you sell cars and you have a nice business, but it is a different kind of negotiation than you and I are even familiar with when we're talking about documentation and pages thick of $232 million of guaranteed money. I mean, I sit here and I talk to John Martin from the lottery all the time, right? Like, you win that lottery ticket, 200. The first thing you do is get represented, right? The first thing you do is find somebody you can trust. And I guess if you're at a point where you don't trust anybody and you're never going to trust anybody, and so far so good, right? So far so good for Lamar. He's got what? How much money's Lamar made? For $12 million, $15 million, $20. How much is he? He hasn't made much.
Not a lot. And even with his endorsements, I mean, he could just be so much further ahead if he had a professional agent representing him.
Well, I mean, Eric offered him 80 million, 10 months ago, and he just put it in the bank, kid, and that wasn't good enough. And now it's probably what, $150, $175 is where they are probably.
Probably, yeah, I would think so. And I'm sure he wants that Deshaun Watson money, and they don't want to pay him. Then that's where we are at. And
that's the truth, isn't it? They don't want to pay him.
They don't want to pay him the guarantee. No, they don't. That's the truth.
Because they've never done it that way before.
Because they think Cleveland made a bad deal with Watson. They're not gonna make a bad deal. They're business people.
Well, the bad deal would be him not playing September 11th and saying, "I'm not playing until you pay me." And that would
no indication.
did it at the top of the game, right? When the Cowboys were the friggin' Cowboys.
There's no indication. There's no indication he's going to do that. Every indication is he's going to play on September 11th.
Well, your point of him having insurance. Right now, you and me, bet a car, bet me a new Bronco Sport for my wife. Does he have insurance or does he has to have insurance, right?
It's unthinkable to think that he doesn't have insurance. It really
is.
If
he has insurance, then he goes and plays, right?
Of course. Why wouldn't he?
Get peace of mind.
Why wouldn't he? They may have insurance in his contract. I know they had insurance on Ronnie Stanley's contract. Now, it doesn't help with the cap, but at least they recoup some of that money against his injury.
Well, if he doesn't play anymore, you have to prove he can't play. Mr. Angelos didn't have any problem with Albert Bell. He rolled him out to spring training and paraded him around as Albert couldn't stand up.
I haven't seen Ronnie Stanley on the football field in 2 years. So until I see him on the football field, and at some point they have to make a decision on him. It's all about money. It just is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is for them with selling tickets, and we have seats left and remaining, and come on down and buy your PSL, and we'll get you into the next. What's the concert? They said somebody's some big Ed Sheeran type acts coming, Jay-Z, somebody like that.
Good.
I'll be coming to the stadium at some point. But hey, man, it's great to be talking about this. Doesn't it feel like a long time ago we played football? It feels like a long time ago I was sitting in the upper deck of SoFi Stadium watching the Rams fans that have been Rams fans for all the 5 minutes run around and look like they won a Super Bowl.
Oh, it does. It's glad it's back. Glad it's almost the big football is almost over with, and looking forward to the opener. And I hope to see Joe Flacco on the other side. I really do.
Well, yeah, I want to see the best of Joe. I want to see Joe.
A lot of fun.
Well, I mean, we haven't seen him play a real game in a number of years, right? Since Denver, really. He played a little bit for the Jets, running around, but starting a season. I mean, do the Jets have any hope, really?
Let's see if the former defensive coordinator of the Niners, Robert Saleh, has any juice. They've got a lot of high draft picks. They have a lot of talent. This could be a team like the Jaguars years ago when all those number one draft picks finally grow up. So I hope this isn't the year. At least I hope it's not in the opener against the Ravens.
We lost to the Jets enough back in '69, right?
We did. I would agree with you. Nestor, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much for my yellow watermelon. It was phenomenal at the dinner table the other night.
Oh, you ate it already?
The whole family did. I had like 6 people in the house and brought it out.
Is it ripe and good? Because I had the twin.
It was fantastic.
I haven't. Fantastic. They weren't as big this year, but did I tell you this? The farmer came over, and I'm tapping on it.
You told me that. Yep. I showed everybody.
He said to me, no. You have. It's how it lays and how it's sort of that it gets ripe on the ground, and you can see the ripeness in the little yellow spot on it. He's like, that's a ripe watermelon. So he picked it.
I gave the same lesson to my family. The kids had a couple of friends over, and I said, this is what Nestor Aparicio told me that a farmer told him. So I showed them the brown spot, and we cut it open. And I tell you what, I took a scooper, an ice cream scooper. Everybody got 3 scoops, and there it went, and it was delicious.
Good, ice cold. I'll get you another one next week if I get back to the Eastern Shore. But I'm not betting on it.
5 new fans in addition to myself. Nestor, as always, I appreciate you. Keep doing great things, and we'll talk some more Ravens football next week.
The best gifts are the rare ones. And
that's right.
Gold watermelon only comes one month a year.
That's right. Stay well. There he goes, Nestor J. Aparicio here on 1570 AM WNST. We'll take a quick break and come back right after this.